Hi everybody, Andy Grant here. Time for another video. Today, well, I guess I can give you a little update on the book. As you know, this site was created because I decided to write my memoir sharing my experiences with depression and suicide. And I've been thinking about this for quite some time. And the research part is done and interviewing people is done. And I wrote a book proposal and that went out to a few agents. And the easiest part of the book has been written. Which, and it's obvious that it's the easiest part because I haven't written in a while. I've kind of hit the wall of, you know, how do I digest all the not so easy things to write about and share with the world. So, I've gone back to kind of looking at my records and the research, and one of the first things I did when I decided to write this book was I knew I would have to gather my hospital records. You know, I had been hospitalized a number of times in 3 different states. I actually got my first records, and these are the records from one hospital stay. I actually got this back in 2006, but it took me at least 8 months before I had the nerve to actually read it. And even then I just skimmed it, and it was only really in the past year when I got serious about writing the book that I read this entire thing. And many others. This is a second hospitalization. Again, lots to read, lots to check out. So let's dig into what they actually said. Because it's the freakiest part about all this is reading what people think about you. What people thought about me when I was 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. And even also what they thought about my parents. And as I was reading all these the first time, I was my parents' age. So it was a pretty trippy thing. But let's get to the fun. What did they say? Okay, so in 1984, my Axis 1 diagnosis was bipolar disorder, depressed without melancholia. Axis 2 is deferred. Deferred? It's like, well, try again next time? Like they didn't have a guess? I don't know. I don't understand what that means. But I was discharged against medical advice. I was on lithium and dizipramine. And about the dizipramine, I quote, "to which the patient developed serious nervous system toxicity." And it's funny to read that because at the time they did not come clean about that. They actually told my parents that someone must have given me acid, and that's why I had this like severe hallucinations and shakes, and it was just crazy for like 3 or 4 days. I was like out of my mind. But that led to us being discharged against medical advice. Then we move on to 1985. Diagnosis was recurrent major depression and suicidal ideation. No duh. Anyone that knew me could have told you that. And again, there seems to be a pattern here. I was discharged AMA, against medical advice. And this is my favorite quote. Discharged AMA secondary to wanting to... Wow, I'm stumbling with all this stuff now. The quote is, discharged AMA secondary to wanting to attend rock concert. And that was a Motley Crue show, and it was freaking awesome. But, you know, I had decided, if I'm alive, I'm going to that show. And I saw that as a tremendously positive sign, but no one else around me seemed to, so I bolted. Next time, just a few months later, the diagnosis was major depressive episode with dependent personality disorder. Then we go a couple years later. The diagnosis is borderline personality disorder and alcohol abuse. Well, I sure can't argue the alcohol abuse part. That was in between high school and college. That was a lot of drinking. But the key here, so this was 1986. I was not on any medication while I was in the hospital, and I was discharged without medication. And then I had my longest stretch without being hospitalized. Hospitalized, wow, I'm making up words. Then I get to 1993. This is the final time I was in a mental hospital of any kind. Axis 1, atypical depression, ruled out post-traumatic stress disorder. So atypical depression seems to be, it's like general depression, but you can actually respond to positive environments. When good things happened, I could respond to them, my mood elevated. Which, at the time when that was explained to me, well, that just sounds like life. So I didn't get it. And ruled out post-traumatic stress disorder, I've read some things that say rule out means what it sounds like, they ruled it out. But then other times saying ruled out can mean symptoms of that should be looked at further. So, who knows? In Access 2, I had personality disorder, NOS, which means not otherwise specified. So again, back to kind of my first hospitalization in high school, and then most recently in like my mid-20s, personality disorder, maybe, we don't know. So, why do I share this with you? Well, it's not to prove just to you how crazy I am. It's to prove to you how ridiculous labels are. Alright? I could go back to any of these hospitals right now, and they would not say the same thing. They might say something new, because that's their job, to label me. But, if there's a label in your life, and you've kind of cling to it like a life preserver, let it go. You've changed. Life changes. The terms and labels change. Don't cling to it. Don't identify yourself by what someone else has said. Okay? That's the real message here. Live your life, decide for yourself. You decide who and what you are. Nobody else. Don't give that power away. Alright? Cool. Alright. That's it. I gotta go have some more fun reading. Alright. Be good to yourself.